everyone. So this is for CIT-125. Been grading this morning and stuff like that. Just wanted to give a little bit of feedback directly to all of you as far as some of the things that people were asking me directly, also just some tips and tricks as far as moving forward in the course. I know that it may be feeling like, especially if any of you have never programmed before, it may feel like, oh my gosh, I'm being thrown into the deep end. But honestly, trust me, as we go through the class, like even the most basic that you did this week is going to make a lot more sense. So first things first, one of the big things I wanted to just re-emphasize here, and I got my little checklist of themes I saw, was just a reminder on saving your files. So if I hop over into the web design playground, remember that even though you have the two sections here, you have multiple items you're going to want to do. So for instance here, like when you're working with the CSS, you want to keep working through any of the activities until pretty much the next page grays out on you. That means you've gone through the module and you have completed it. At that point then, just a reminder, you're going to go up to that menu button here, and then that's where you're going to choose to download your code. And then when you do that, it's going to download a zip folder for you. This zip folder is going to have all of your work in it, and that's what you want to upload to me. I noticed a few folks, you actually submitted just the individual HTML and CSS documents. For a project this tiny, that can work, but as we move on through the course, what's going to happen is you're going to have more HTML documents, you're going to have more CSS files that you're going to be integrating with one another. It's best to get comfortable with that folder structure and that zip folder concept now rather than later. So that was one of the things that I wanted to talk about. Another item that I noticed with a couple of folks was you were almost correct. Technically, you did everything right. And I want to show you actually, I'm going to go ahead and pop into Atom for this demo here. And I made a quick little project document here to talk about this. So whenever you're working with or having to work through HTML tags, you're going to have that opening and closing tag for the majority of all of your tags here. So just to give you a for instance here, I have welcome to my web page. Now, if you recall from this week too, you can actually look up in the head tag here. I also am linking to an external style sheet. Not too much on that right now. Let's zoom in on this H1 here. What I noticed was happening for some folks is yes, you submitted it. Yes, it displayed something, but because it wasn't contained between the two tag, the opening and closing tag, nothing was happening. So to give you a for instance, like if I go here, so you can see on my preview window here, you can see how it's actually showing, welcome to my web page, bolded. I think I chose Verdana and it's Rebecca Purple as its color. If I were to come in now and actually let's do an X out and let me go right below that here, and I'll go ahead and tab in and do a Control V and save my page. You see what happens over in my preview here. Remember, an HTML document in the grand scheme of things, it can technically just display text. You don't even need to have a tag attached to it. So, but when you're first learning it, that can actually be a little misleading to you because it's like, well, it's displaying what I wanted on my web page. But, okay, weird. I thought I told it to be purple, but it's not. That's something you want to make sure and be careful of is that, now if I go ahead, I'll grab that. I'm going to put it right back in there. And you see, once again, now the H1 CSS is actually affecting that phrase there, which if I come over here, again, kind of similar to what you were working with here. I did pick out just a couple of funsy ones. Later on down the line, we are going to get into your measurement values. Don't worry about that now, but just to show folks just some different options, how I'm affecting the P tag instead of, I think this week you had to work with the H2 tag. Also doing some text align where I aligned my paragraph to the right there. I could actually technically come in here, change this to center, save, and kind of hard to see, but yes, you can see how it's kind of centering the paragraph for me there. So just be aware of that. That was kind of a hiccup I saw on several folks where it was, you got it half in the tag and then half outside of the tag. So just be careful of that. And then lastly, well, actually second to last here, I did get a question from a student about both working in the web design playground here, but this is actually something you're going to run into in your IDEs. What I was being asked about was, okay, so if I start an H1 tag, the playground here immediately put a closing tag for me. And then I could start typing, hello world, and run my code. If I jump over into Atom here, like let me go ahead here and do H2 and say hello again, it depends on what you're working with. I come from a background whereby we didn't actually have that auto closing option. By default, most IDEs and digital web-based sandboxes do that. The reason was, long and short, is way back in the day, we used to actually have it where if you missed a closing tag, the entire web page broke. So what a lot of IDEs, such as Atom, Sublime, etc., what they started doing was auto-closing our tags for us. And that's just been a theme here in HTML and CSS. If you can learn to work with it, great. If not, depending on which IDE you choose, I'd have to dig, or I'm happy to help you dig. You'd have to actually go in and turn it off. So that's was a good question that I got. And then last but by no means least, your CSS documents. Now, so long as you are going into the design playground, and we're still learning this, I mean, this is something that you're going to be practicing throughout the entire semester. You want to make sure that whenever you do use under the menu that download code, what I was finding was folks were actually going through and having issues of the name, or because the location changed of the CSS document, what ended up actually happening was your link would then break. So just to give you a for instance here, like if I change this over now from like my CSS to CSS, this is what I would see on my end. You see how I lost all of that formatting that I had. So just be careful. It's fine if you want to download, tweak, play with. Keep it in a folder though, and make sure that CSS name stays exactly the same that it is linked to on the index document. And outside of that, that's pretty much kind of week one feedback there for everybody. So again, more than welcome to watch this video, not required, but that was kind of the general theme and some general corrections that I was kind of pointing out to people. As a friendly reminder, if you did lose points, you're more than welcome to go back, redo the project, resubmit it, and you'll get a second shot at the points again.